It's week 6 of only eating homegrown, foraged, and hunted food, and as per usual, we're on our daily grind. Well, we're actually more on our weekly grind because we usually like to do a big batch of cornmeal and masa at the beginning of each week to last us through the next several days. This keeps us from having to get out and assemble and clean the mill every day, but it does ensure that our cornmeal and masa are nice and fresh. Its quality and nutrients will degrade if left out at room temperature for a prolonged period of time, and we definitely don't have room in our fridge or freezer for it. So making smaller batches every week or so has been working really well for us. So far, we've gone through about a quarter of the corn that we grew this year, which puts us at about the same amount we started with for our challenge last year. It's really gratifying seeing our yields increase year after year without increasing our growing space, and we attribute the success with our corn this year to better spacing, fertilizing, and just the general improvement of our soil after caring for it year after year. For our nixtamalized corn or hominy, we switch out the stone milling heads for steel burrs, which can handle wet or oily things that the stones can't. This lets us go straight from cooking the corn to making masa, rather than drying it first and then grinding it like you'd get with a bag of masa harina from the store. The texture is really similar to Play-Doh, so it's sort of fun to mess with, and there is nothing better than the smell of homemade tortillas in our kitchen.
She's perfect. For TikTok too.
We used a good amount of the Hopi blue flour corn that we grew this year in this batch of masa, and you can check out our little tortilla flex to see the wonderful texture that it provides for our homemade tortillas. This week, we did make enough to throw a few batches in bags in the freezer as a great foundation for meals when we're feeling a little too tired to cook everything from scratch. We also set aside some hominy to make one of our favorite go-to meals for our Living Off the Land challenge. But first, let's hear from this video's sponsor, which you may have guessed, it's us. We love to share some of how we grow, hunt, and forage our food with all of you on here, but if you want more detailed information, we have 2 comprehensive online courses that will give you exactly that. We share how to set up a thriving, low-maintenance garden that really feeds you a balanced diet, as well as how to make the parks, fields, and forests around you your grocery store. These 2 courses, the complete guide to growing your own food and the complete guide to foraging your own food, are on sale now, so check the link below in our description for more information. And if you qualify for SNAP or WIC or similar programs where you are, please get in touch with us about our sliding scale price options. All right, now back to the cooking. Jordan claims he could eat pozole every day, and during this time of the year, it sometimes feels like that's what we do. It is a great way to get most of our staple foods in one tasty dish.
I don't know what to smell anymore.
It smells like tomato to me now.
What?
Yeah. Traditionally, this Mexican stew is made with hominy and pork, but we make ours with venison. People sometimes ask why we seem to exclusively rely on venison for meat. And while we do sometimes fish for trout or eat other wild game, it's true that probably 99% of our meat consumption is white-tailed deer. And there are a couple of reasons for that. The biggest one is that here in Pennsylvania, there are about 1.5 million deer, or about 30 per square mile of land mass. Pennsylvania has a strong deer hunting culture, and last season about 400,000 deer were hunted. Given that mature deer produce 1 to 3 offspring every year, this is a really sustainable way to source meat for our communities. In fact, experts believe there are more deer now in North America than ever before in history. We love deer and think they are beautiful animals worthy of care and respect. We hate seeing them piling up on the side of our highways every year, or seeing them succumb to starvation or disease due to overpopulation in the winter. We're incredibly grateful that by hunting a couple of deer every year, we can get well over 100 pounds of meat to share with us, our friends and family, and little Moo that will give us protein, fat, and vitamins and minerals. We also get hides we can turn into leather and make into things like these mittens, and depending on the deer, wonderful tallow that we can use for high heat cooking or for making soap and other body care products. Last year we got really lucky with the amount of tallow we were able to render from one of our deer, and we're still using it today. We are getting a little low on red salsa, but I have some tomatoes and peppers in the freezer, so I can make some more when things are getting really dire. as we get closer to the winter solstice, fresh vegetables from our garden like radishes and arugula are going to get harder to come by, so we're really appreciating them right now. I have noticed some winter hardy wild greens popping up around us, so as long as we don't get too hard of a freeze, we'll still be able to harvest greens without having to plant or take care of them, which is pretty great. I'll show you one of my personal favorites next week. Until then, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, I hope you're creating some light for yourself on these darkest of days.